Hola! It's me, Elian Habanero. Welcome to episode 21 of the W.I.L.L.I.W show, which stands for Wrestling is Life. Life is Wrestling. That's right. 3 weeks going strong, 49 weeks to go. This is part 2 of my Wrestling Ribs series. Now, in the first part, I started off by sharing my earliest memories of ribs that I helped do to people. This one is going to be about me. I have no problems embarrassing myself. Look at my hair. Look at my outfit. Of course I don't mind. So anyway, when I first was a young guy at the wrestling school, this is actually about 2 years in. I started in 2000. We went on a trip to do a show in Buffalo. And I didn't drive, so I ended up getting a ride with Lance Malibu. Now, Lax Siddhartha and Fubio, Jermaine also came down with us. So back then, you didn't need a passport to get across the border. You just needed like your birth certificate or whatnot. And I can't remember if we said that we were going for wrestling or we just like made up an excuse. I can't remember how it used to work back then. But anyway, Lack is like an East Indian guy. He's like a big, strong-looking dude. Malibu's like a buffed-out white dude. I'm the Cuban Spanish guy, and Fubio's like an African-American straight from the streets of Chicago. So it was quite an eclectic little bunch we had riding in the car. So anyway, we could try and go across the border. Like I said, I can't remember if we said we were going for wrestling or we just made up a lie. But anyway, we ended up getting stopped. They wanted to search the car. They went through all of our ID. Like, this took at least an hour. At least, maybe more, right? So we were all worried. Like, we just didn't want to miss the show. We didn't have anything. We didn't do anything bad or anything. We looked suspicious. But we were upset because we're like, this is taking too long. We're going to miss the show. So finally, eventually, like, Malibu was the driver. So they called him in by himself. And so we didn't know what the outcome was. So he comes out and he played it up really well, that prick. Anyway, so he comes out shaking his head and he's like, we got denied, guys. And we're like, oh, come on, no. Like, this was our first time wrestling in the States. We were so excited for this. And then, so he gets in his car. We all get in the car. And then he totally swerves us. He's like, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to make a run for it. We got to do this show. So he turns into the lane to go to America. And, like, I'm freaking out. I'm like, no, I don't want to be a fugitive. Like, we're going to get in big trouble. Like, let me out of the car. Like, I'm going to jump out of the car. And I was so worked up. And I was going on and on and on about it. And, like, I don't know how long it lasted. But to me, it probably felt like an hour. But I was so worried. Like, I had never been arrested or in trouble my entire life. And here we are, smuggling ourselves into the U.S., Of course, he was just joking. Like, obviously they wouldn't just let us drive in there if we were denied. But I was only like 19 years old. I didn't know what was going on. But I guess I just was relentless. So finally he couldn't keep it in anymore, because I was probably bugging the heck out of him. And he's like, calm down, Elian. It's just a joke. And like, I was so mad yet so relieved that I couldn't be mad, because I was just happy that we were gonna get to do the show. So he got me really good. Really good. I'm going to have to get you back for that one there, Malibu, you jackass. So anyway, that was the first time that I can remember ever getting ribbed. Now, fast forward a couple years later. I believe it was 2005, 2006. I was doing a show in Cambridge for PWA, and I was set to wrestle this guy. They had never brought him into PWA before, Ruffy Silverstein. And, the Highlanders had been talking them up. Like, they're like, oh man, he did a couple other shows in Ontario. He did some dark matches for WWE. And they're like, this guy, he knows his stuff. He got trained in the dungeon. Like, he's a legit, like, technical genius. And, like, so I was worried. Like not worried, but, like, nervous. Like, okay, like, I gotta bring my A game. I really want to impress this guy. But this was his first time wrestling for PWA and the first time I had met him. So anyway, the Highlanders like to joke around a bit too, right, sometimes? Okay, so they were cool with Ruffy, and they decided to punk me a bit. Like, I believe it was all Ruffy. I don't know who it was, but anyway. So I'm sitting there in the locker room, and like I meet him and I shake his hand. Nice to meet you, sir. It's an honor to wrestle you, something like that. And I'm very quiet and very shy, and I'm just like, I don't say anything out of place. I just keep to myself. I just try and do what's right. Try not to step on anybody's toes. I just want everyone to get along, and then I just want to try and go out there in the match and perform the best of my ability and earn some respect. Well, anyway, all of a sudden, I'm just sitting down there lacing up my boots. And I hear Ruffy go, "That kid smokes? I'm not working him." So back then I smoked a bit. So, I became a father, so I was able to change my ways. Anyway, he's like, "I'm not working him. You didn't tell me he smoked." And I was like, oh no, this is gonna get worse. Like he's refusing to wrestle me, and he throws this big fit, and I believe the promoter must have been in on it because the way he was like, he's like, I refuse. Find me someone else to wrestle. And then he comes up and like gets in my face, is like, what the heck's wrong with you? You're just a disgrace to this business. You shouldn't be smoking. And like he's just like, and I'm like intimidated as heck. And so then he's like, "See you out there, man." I was like, no, like really? Like I was so nervous to begin with just to wrestle him. And then all this, but it ended up being pretty good. I mean, we wrestled again after that, like at least 6 or 7 times, so ended up working out. But like I just remember like almost crapping my pants at that moment. Both moments, both of them. So I'm gonna keep this series up. I got a lot of other funny ribs. I started thinking of some more last night and writing some down, and I got some really funny ones, but I thought, I'm not gonna just tell ribs that I did to people or that I saw done to people. I don't have mind embarrassing myself too. I got ribbed a lot too. And another embarrassing moment, which wasn't a rib, is I was wrestling Eddie Osborne in Tilsonburg for like PWX, I believe. And I was wearing these same pants, and I guess I didn't have them tied up properly. I went to like run and do like a springboard off the middle rope into like some kind of like basically like a swanton roll or something. And my pants fell down, so I had to wrestle, like, all I had was underwear underneath, so I had to wrestle the rest of the match holding my pants up like this. Lucky there was only like 4 minutes left, because we just had to get the rest of our stuff in, of course. Instead of just saying, like, pin me, we had to keep going to do all the moves, even if I had one hand on my pants. So I don't mind being embarrassed. Anybody that's involved with these stories, it's the truth, so I'm going to tell them because they're the truth, and hopefully you won't mind. And we got some more coming up. This is part 2 of the Wrestling Ribs series on The Willow Show, episode 21. Remember, like or you get a leg drop, comment or you get a clothesline, subscribe or you get a suplex. I'm Elian Habanero. I love wrestling. Cuba!